Hi everyone, it's Dr. D. I wanted to make a quick announcement video for the first week of class to talk about a couple of kind of course information pieces. The first piece is about the textbook. I often get the question, can I get an older edition of the textbook? And I would say kind of. So here's the thing, we're using this 11th edition this semester, and the thing about the 11th edition is that there's been one major change, and that is that an old chapter was removed and a brand new chapter has been added. So the old chapter that was removed was the third parties chapter, and the new chapter that's here is bullying. So this is a brand new chapter. It is content that is not in the older edition, and that's why I recommend getting this newer edition. If you do get the older edition, I've got the 10th edition here. The rest of the chapters are more or less unchanged. So the only real difference here is that bullying chapter versus that third parties chapter. If you can get access to that bullying chapter in some other way, maybe you have a friend who's in the class and they're going to let you photocopy their book, or they're willing to share that book with you, that's fine by me. Whatever. But the rest of the textbook is basically unchanged. The differences, the changes, the updates are incredibly minor. In fact, I went back, and the oldest edition that I have is the 6th edition, and even there, going back, the changes are small enough that I think you could even get away with getting a really old edition. So if you see an older version of this book real cheap and you'd rather get that, just make sure that you're going to be able to get that bullying chapter, that you're going to be able to get access to that bullying chapter. Okay. The other announcement that I want to talk about is the assignments in this class. Hopefully you've watched my video where I tell you how you can be successful in my class, because it's really important that you understand that the quiz questions, the test questions, the activity questions are usually application questions. So for instance, this week you've got an activity where you're going to be reading conflict scenarios and determining whether or not they're conflicts based on our definition of conflict. So there's a PowerPoint presentation there. You can click on the little audio for the actual lecture. I give you kind of an outline of that lecture in the notes portion of the PowerPoint slides, so you can kind of read along there. But the actual lecture is the audio portion of those PowerPoint slides where I explain what each aspect of this definition means. So once you understand that definition of conflict, you should be able to read a scenario and say, yes, this is conflict because, or no, this is not conflict because. So make sure you pay attention to that. But that's what I mean by application questions. I'm not saying, what is the definition of conflict, and asking you to memorize that definition, or giving you a definition of conflict and saying, what does this mean? I'm saying, here's a scenario, apply the definition and see if it fits. Okay, so that's kind of quizzes and tests. Note that in this class you can submit test questions. So if you think you can write a good application question, go ahead and submit it. Even if you're not sure if you can write a good one, you can give it a try. It doesn't hurt to submit questions. If they're terrible, you just get 0 points, right? So the worst that happens is nothing. I just read the question and tell you it's not good. The best that happens is your question is good. You get points for submitting that question. And also that question shows up on the test. So when you get to that question, you know what the answer is. So do absolutely consider submitting those test questions. Okay, the last assignment that I want to talk about is the application analyses. And that assignment is kind of, there's going to be 7 throughout the course of the semester, and each one of those is worth 5 points. So the little activities and quizzes are worth 2 points each. These are worth 5 points, so they're a little bit bulkier points-wise. And I want to tell you that they are based right in the textbook. In chapter 7, there is this conflict assessment guide, and that's what we're doing in those application analyses. So you'll see, 1, nature of the conflict. What are the triggering events that brought this conflict into mutual awareness? That's word for word what one of the questions is, right? So the application analyses are basically based directly off of this conflict assessment guide. And so what I'm asking you to do this semester is to choose the content that we'll be analyzing. So you get to choose what conflicts we're going to analyze, what conflicts we're going to assess, and then I'm going to ask you to analyze them, and I'm going to guide you through analyzing those conflicts. So pick juicy conflicts. Pick interesting conflicts that you are going to be interested in talking about all semester long, because that's what we're going to be doing. So you pick the content, and then we analyze it together. And so choose things that you think are going to be interesting. There's an upper limit on how many conflicts you can submit. So if choosing a conflict sounds interesting to you, then I would say hop to it, get on it sooner than later. That the first application analysis discussion board assignment is going to be available starting the second week of classes. So jump on there, post your conflict, go ahead and describe it thoroughly, answer all of the questions that are asked in the application analysis assignment description. So I encourage you, pick some juicy, interesting conflicts that you're going to be interested in studying all semester long, because that's what we're going to be doing. You got to get to pick the content that we analyze. I get to pick sort of what aspects of it we analyze, but it's in the textbook. You can follow along right there. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more of an insight into what the rest of our semester is going to look like and answers any of your kind of first week questions. But if you have more questions, please feel free to ask, and I will post a announcement, and you can actually comment on that announcement and ask questions right there. Usually the questions that students ask in the first couple of weeks of class are questions that all the students want answered. So if you've got a burning question about the course, I encourage you to post it publicly, because chances are somebody else has the same question, and so I'd love to be able to just answer it once in public so everybody has access to that same answer. Okay, hopefully this has been helpful. I'll see you online.